having Matt Dooley on the show was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He played at IU on the football team, but he came from Phoenix, Arizona. But he's become a Hoosier.
Yes,
and his knowledge of real estate and knowledge of social media is really impressive.
I mean, with him just starting out not too long ago, the wealth of knowledge that he has and the way he's building his business is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. And if somebody's at all interested in how to do social media, what works, what doesn't work, he's invaluable for that. Yes. I thought.
Yeah, so definitely tune in to listen to Matt Dooley talk about how he got into the business and then what works great for him.
Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Well, we're really excited today. We have Matt Dooley, and Matt is you've done a lot of things, but you're fairly new to real estate. Although you're doing phenomenally well. Yep. And we just want to hear about you. So where did you grow up? What have you done in your life before real estate? And then how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona originally. Born and raised there. And a lot of people ask, why are you in Indiana? When it's currently 70 degrees in Scottsdale and it's like 30 here. I got a football scholarship to IU. I started there for 4 years as a long snapper. And then after college, I was a SPIA management major. I think it's called the O'Brien School now, but.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
They had to have a name to go with Kelly. It's I'm an O'Brien. It's not just SPIA.
I'm guessing somebody gave him a lot of money.
Yeah. Somebody named O'Brien wrote a really nice check. So good for them. But, yeah, did that, and then right out of college, I started working for Stryker, which is a medical device company. Did that for 4 or 5 months, and then actually got a workout with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and ended up getting signed. And so left my job at Stryker, went and did a preseason with the Steelers. Didn't win the job, and so moved back to Indiana. And resumed working for Stryker for another couple of years, and then left that. Worked with my wife for a while, helped her grow her business, and then started a business of my own, which I still do, which is video, social media consulting, stuff like that. So
okay.
So I've been doing that since 2019, and then I've always had an interest in real estate. I have a couple of aunts who were realtors growing up. And my grandfather was really into land development and real estate investing. And so I've always had a kind of a knack for it. Friends would always ask, hey, I'm looking for, I'm not even a realtor, but I just love that aspect of hey, let me help you find a place that you can call home. And a couple years ago, I had a friend of mine, Jake Duke, who's my managing broker at Duke Collective, reach out and say, hey, you should really, give this a shot. So I started in, I want to say, got my license in February of 22. And I guess really went active that fall. Okay. Got a couple transactions done at the end of the year, and then had a bigger year this year. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, and so a lot of people, you didn't actually. You were interested in real estate, but it took a catalyst of somebody saying, "Hey, you should be doing this."
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It sometimes you don't know what you're good at. You got to give it a shot. And so yeah, I did that, and I've kind of meshed the two jobs of social media, taking my knowledge from there and applying it to my Instagram account and. Looking to kind of get into the YouTube space moving forward especially after hearing what you guys are doing. And there's a couple of other agents who are friends of mine who have gotten in that space. So yeah.
So how are you seeing, being a social media expert, how are you, because I'm not, how are you seeing that work? Like, is that something that some place you get a lot of your business from? How is it working?
Yeah. So it's been my highest ROI as far as like time investment. I want to say I got like 3 or 4 transactions done just from a handful of social media posts. Like, I'm not nearly maximizing it the way I should. We've got 2 infant boys at home, so that's kind of taking a lot of my time. But I'd like to get back into a space where I'm batch recording content, and just kind of putting that out there, whether it's like tours of local businesses or home tours or answering general real estate questions, kind of establishing myself as a thought leader in that space. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be the smartest realtor in the city. I just need to be the smartest, most genuine realtor in my sphere of influence. So I have an abundance mentality where it's like, look, I know business is like, it's tough for everybody right now, but I think that there's enough to go around and the cream kind of rises to the top. So if you do your job ethically and you provide value, that people are going to be drawn to you and want to work with you. So
I couldn't agree more. That's part of why we do this, is because we just believe you take care of people, you help people, and everything works out. It's just, and it does. So I think that's a really good idea, because I've kicked it around myself, is working with local businesses and promoting them, because it not only helps them, it helps your customers and your viewers and anybody else, because we're all looking for that. Like, where should we go? What should we go do? I think that's a brilliant idea. You just have to take the time to do it. Which is some time.
Taking the time to sit down. I did one recently. It was actually a couple months ago, and I have another one that's like in the pipe. I just have to buckle down and finish it. But that post, I got over 100,000 views on Instagram Reels. Had over, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 shares. So it was like a viral, shareable type material. Because like the way I look at it, and the way I've explained it to other friends who are realtors, and like, this is my point. Like, I'll put the knowledge out there. Like, you still have to do it. So I'm not scared of anybody doing it, because everyone's going to get the business they're going to get. But I look at it as kind of like a bullseye, and like the bullseye, center of the bullseye is like the person who is like ready to buy or sell their house, and they are looking for a realtor right now. And so the information you're giving them is like pertaining to, here, are you going to list your home? Here are 3 things you should think about, or 5 things to do before you start making an offer on a house or whatever. So that's center of the bullseye. People don't share that. Like, that might be 2 or 3 people in my entire audience who are like actively looking right now that would say, take this and share it with somebody who's in that same spot in the city, like in my area. So the next ring is kind of like, okay, what's bigger than that tiny little bullseye? And it's like, well, a lot of people like coffee, so like, why don't I just go to the 3 coffee shops up here that I go to all the time and just take a couple of videos and stitch together? And well, guess what? But people, it turns out there's a lot more people that like coffee than want to like buy or sell a house right now. So that kind of content's a little bit more shareable. It's helping out local businesses. I actually had one of the businesses tell me like they had a massive influx of business just off of that post. Like, hey, we saw this post and like, we didn't even know you guys were here. We wanted to come check it out. So like, that's what I really care about, is like, hey, it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, like, who else can I help out here? Because that really goes a long way. So, and then you want to, like, you need to have that content that establishes you as a thought leader in your space. You need the stuff that, gives you credibility that this person actually does deals. They don't just post like funny reels or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, are you a content, like, you have to be a content creator and a realtor nowadays. Like, you just, unless you want to, pay for marketing. And I've done that, and I have not gotten a return.
Okay.
It's
so
frustrating.
You don't pay for the market. You just put it out on your normal feeds.
I put it out there
cost
organically. No, yeah. There's no. I did a thing, with like Facebook ads. There was a company who, made an offer, but that was probably the worst ROI that I've done. Yeah. So it's like, I just got to double down on what I do, and all it costs is my time.
Yep.
So
I like that you don't just post, hey, this house is for sale. Hey, I just sold this house. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad, but I mean, it works for some realtors. But
right.
Like when I'm looking at my Facebook and I see all this, it's actually kind of nice every once in a while somebody goes, hey, I just visited this, let's say coffee shop, like you said. And hey, this was wonderful, blah, blah, blah. You should check it out. That's sometimes kind of nice to break it up in between all the realtor, let's say, posts.
Right. Yeah. It's a good balance. And you need those, and that's kind of what I was saying is like, you do want to show your audience like, hey, I am selling houses. I am helping buyers.
Yep.
Because again, that lends credence to like your knowledge, but people don't care unless they're that bullseye.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you can get more people down into those smaller, well, maybe, I'm renting right now, but I'm thinking about buying. Matt's got a lot to say about that. So let me talk to Matt.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like staying front of mind in your audience. And ultimately you have to provide value, because if you're not providing value, there's a content creator who I'm a big fan of, Alex Hermosi. And, for like, he's got a saying where like, your content isn't too long, it's too boring. Because a lot of people will be like, well, you have to get it down to like a 15-second clip because like people's attention spans are so short. He's like, people will sit and binge an entire Netflix season. It's like, that's hours and hours and hours. So it's not the duration, it's the quality of your content. And it's obvious like your content either isn't providing value or it's not controversial, or like, because there's different hooks you can use. You can say something that is against the grain, or something to get attention, and stop the scroll is what I tell my clients. Like if you can't do that, you're not going to gain traction. So it's like there's a lot of different parts to pieces of content, and it's just kind of implementing that into everything you do. But ultimately, the stuff that's good gets shared.
So you mentioned you said your grandfather did investments, right? So when you decided to jump into this field, did he give you any words of wisdom? So
he had actually passed before I got into real estate. But he actually, one thing he always said, and it's something I tell my buyers, is his biggest piece of real estate advice was never fall in love with real estate. And it's tough, especially when you have something that's so personal. It's like you're thinking, my kids are going to be running around here someday. Like it's a very personal, emotional decision. But you have to be able to look at it as a equation, especially when you're thinking about investment properties. You have to take your emotion out of it. Like does the math work or does it not work? Because if it doesn't work, okay, I'll wait. If it falls through, okay, there'll be another property. But I think that's something that I've had deals that fall through, due to a bad inspection or whatever, and it's tough. But it's like, okay, look, this is the stuff that like it's just dollars and cents. Like that's great that you loved it, and there was like, it was charming, but you're gonna have to sink 50 grand into it. Like, is it that charming?
Yeah. You're not gonna love it after that.
Right, yeah. So that's what I would say was his biggest piece of advice that I still remember. So
if somebody wanted to follow you on, that sounds like Instagram is kind of your thing.
Yeah,
I wanted to get to that, and then Ian got in. How would they follow you on Instagram?
Well, my handle is Matt Dooley 91. That was my college football number, and so
I was about to ask what number represented. So
that was Matt Dooley 91. And then I was on TikTok. I haven't been on TikTok in a while. TikTok, I gave it a shot, but I think it's still a little bit too young. I think in a few years that generation is going to be renting, maybe buying if rates come down. But I'm mainly on Instagram.
Yeah, so. we had a person who was like you, an expert in social media, and had a social media company, and she had said, you still go ahead and get those handles and you keep them all the same because you don't want somebody else to get your handle.
Right.
And all of a sudden they think it's you who's posting and it's somebody else who's posting. You can't control it. So do you agree? You get on all those different channels, even though you don't use them, but you make sure you got your hand.
Yeah, I think if you can lock that up, that's smart. Sometimes you can't, and it's not worth going and changing all of them and having something really obscure, with a ton of like underscores. Like if you can keep it all one word, if you can do your first and last name. Well, there's a lot of other Matt Dooleys out there I found. So
yeah.
And then it's like you can put your middle name or you can put a number or whatever, but you can add realtor at the end or realtor at the beginning. But yeah, I think if you can do that, I think that's good advice.
Okay. Yeah. It seemed like it was to me. It just seemed like, well, that's a really smart little trick just to help people really
if you can have the continuity, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you with real estate, what would be their best way to contact you?
I think either my cell phone or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm checking those every day. Sometimes they can get hidden in like requests, but that's how I've had several clients reach out like, hey, I saw this video and we're looking to relocate. I had a client relocate from Okinawa, Japan, military family, and they found me on Instagram. So it's amazing what that can do if you're providing value. And, obviously it's like you want to provide value, but on the other hand, like it has to look good too.
Right.
Because it kind of, it kind of lends credence to your, professionalism. And if the content looks really professionally produced. Me, I have the luxury of like having camera equipment, lighting equipment already. So I can do that. People who don't have that, it can be costly. And so I wouldn't say go out and buy a $6,000 camera setup. And like before you get lights and mics, maybe you work with what you got. Maybe you work with the iPhone cameras are insane right now.
Right.
Like they've come so far. So, but yeah, I mean, I think if people want to get a hold of me, my cell phone number's, I still have a Scottsdale area code, but it's area code 480-980-5443.
I think one thing he's missing out on, and that he did not say though, is with his beard, all these pictures look great.
Yeah, not everybody has that luxury either. So.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938.
All right, Matt. So we're going to take a little side tour.
Okay.
So let's let people get to know you. So when you're not selling real estate, what are you doing for fun?
Well, I love to hunt. Haven't been doing a whole lot of that this year with the two babies. But yeah, bow hunting is something I got into recently. In the past couple of years, I didn't grow up doing it. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I like working out. I actually I coach long snappers, like high school long snappers, college long snappers. Helped a couple guys get college scholarships.
Awesome.
So that's been really cool because it was a skill that changed my life. Learning to throw a ball between my legs to the punter or the holder, and if I didn't know how to do that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So the doors that opens for kids. I went to a tiny high school in Phoenix. Like graduated with 75 kids.
Wow.
And ended up taking a gap year to train, but because of that, I got a full ride scholarship to IU. So got my school paid for. Met my wife. Got a chance to play in the NFL. Yeah. It changed my life. So if I can do that with other high school kids, that it's very rewarding. So
for all those people that just sit on the couch and say that's the easiest job, is it or is it not?
No. I would say it's one of the easier ways to get to the NFL because there's less competition. But you also have to be very good at it. You got to be consistent, and then you have to have a short memory. If you mess up, you got to be able to flush that and forget it because the guys who don't last long. But on the other hand, you're fighting for one of 32 spots in the world. So like you have a better chance of becoming the president of a country than being a long snapper in the NFL. And, I think the average length of an NFL career is 3 years. The average length of a long snapper's career, I want to say, is like 9.
Oh, wow.
9 or 10.
So they aren't changing
because there's
very
not
often.
a lot of there's not a lot of turnover. So when I was in Pittsburgh, I'm competing against a 13-year veteran, and so I explained that to the people. I'm like, that's like having a rookie undrafted quarterback like come into camp and they say, okay, you have to beat Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Or we're going to cut you because we don't keep backups,
Right.
Because there's enough free agents out there. If a guy gets hurt, they just sign him off the street. And that's due to, they'll say it's due to, roster cap limits of, you can only have 53 men on the active roster. But you could have 200 men on the active roster. They still wouldn't keep another long snapper. Yep. So it's, it's not easy, but I would say it's probably, if you're trying to go pro, like either, that or a kicker or punter. There's a lot of Aussie guys who've never played football that come over and play a couple years of college and then have a long NFL career. But yeah.
Yeah. I think Pat McAfee would take a little offense to that.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, if you're thinking about just general positions, like if you're like you were to take the average guy off the street and like teach them something, you still have to be an athlete.
Yes.
You still got to go make tackles. And that's where I think, and Pat was a heck of a tackler. Like he's a football player.
He still has those highlights still run.
Oh, yeah. Who was that? The Broncos returner that he smoked.
Was it Sanders?
It wasn't Sanders. I played with his brother in Pittsburgh. I'm forgetting his last name right now. But
yeah, he annihilated him.
I don't have any hits like that on my highlight reel.
I wonder if he gets, the guy he did that to, if he gets just tormented all the time.
Probably.
Over
yeah.
Do that
You're the dude who got lit up by the kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat's a big dude. Like he's a stocky guy. He's a Pittsburgh guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough dudes.
Well, he's just funny.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
gosh.
The guy's just.
He's hilarious.
He's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, to see what he's built with the Pat McAfee show, like I started listening to it like when he released it. Like I think it was like 2016 or something.
When he first got out, he went to Barstool, and that's when I started.
Yes.
And then when he branched off out of there.
It was Barstool. Yeah, because I was living I spent a brief amount of time back in Arizona training after I got cut by the Steelers. And that's where I started listening. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's hilarious. And now to, parlay that into an ESPN deal and to be on College Game Day, like he'll be a fixture there for the rest of his life.
Yep.
Like he's gonna be the next Lee Corso, like he's iconic. So and just to see the way that he loves Indiana is really, as somebody who's not a native Hoosier, but I chose to call this place home. I resonate with that because I picked it for the same reasons. Like the people are amazing. Like, yeah, the weather's not great all the time, but like you can always put on another jacket,
Yeah. I think it's interesting with him because he's such a personality, and that you talked about College Game Day. I'm not even a fan. All right, I'm just not a sports guy.
Mm-hmm.
I never have been. I'll watch College Game. My wife is huge into sports. I'll watch College Game Day, and I'll actually go and turn it on because it is hilarious and it's very interesting.
Yeah,
like I love sports talk shows.
Yeah,
I just don't like watching the games.
Yeah, he's a character. I mean, I think. It was last week for the SEC championship.
Oh yeah,
game.
for the Georgia and
he's singing the Georgia fan song. He's like, "I got Bama, roll Tide," and just completely everyone's like, "Yeah," losing it. But yeah,
Lee Corso's hilarious too. He's a ride. I mean,
well, and Pat's got a guy on his show, space on his name, who does the what's his name? The Notre Dame coach.
Oh yeah, Lou Holtz. He does that. Yeah, but he does that impression.
He does a Lou Holtz. I've met Lou Holtz, and it's spot on. I mean, it is hilarious. That whole crew of guys is just like it's a great atmosphere, and it just kind of like they're just like everyday dudes. Mm-hmm. It's not all shiny and polished. Pat's wearing a tank top and a Rolex. Like. He's always standing up at his desk. He's got to be talk. I mean, it's just the banter between that crew is just it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back to you, though.
Yeah.
Because that's why we're here. I mean, Pat can sell himself.
Right.
Let's sell you. So I'm going to let Rick ask his favorite question of all time.
Oh, you're going to let me ask that question?
Yes.
So my favorite question is, what would you say your superpower or superpowers are? And then how do they help your clients or customers?
I'd say my superpower as an agent is always acting in the best interest of my client, which is like should be every agent, but it's not. And also, I think the marketing piece that I bring, my knowledge of social media, being able to get a property out there, do a great listing walkthrough video. Whatever it is, hiring a guy to come get drone shots and stitching it all together, and distribution and getting it out in front of my audience. I'd say that's one of the bigger value pieces, but also, I think my clients will just, the hard work and putting them first is probably first and foremost. And then I'd say the accessory to that is the social media expertise and marketing, getting the property sold as fast as possible for as much as possible.
So you mentioned the pictures, the drones. So what does that actually do for a client trying to sell their home?
So I actually wouldn't recommend drones for most properties because it can make them actually look small. Unless you've got like a lot of land or you have some picturesque view that you're trying to convey, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're doing something that's like a quality walkthrough with a gimbal and a 4K, mirrorless camera, you can really, you get that immersion effect that really you want the potential buyer to see themselves in that house. And then back to social media, if they're seeing that, you want to stop the scroll. So it's got to look really sharp and it has to look different from everything else. It can't just look like, oh, I'm like walking through with my phone. You can, but nobody's going to watch it. So yeah, I think having the buyers see themselves in the house, but also, just getting it out there in front of more people, I think is essential.
Obviously, we got to get it in front of as many people as possible. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And the quality of the video, it's funny because I've read so much on it, and everybody says, listen, you got to have that audio. But now they're saying people generally don't even listen to the audio. They just have it.
Yeah.
They have the words up there. Well,
Yep.
It's
I want to say, I think the stat is like 80% of people like scroll Instagram on silent. They're not listening to audio. So if you have something to convey, you need to have the text transcribed and, put right here. Or you can have, if it's a walkthrough, I guess you can flash the text up. I would put that into the description because the house should really sell itself. You can kind of throw like, 4-bed, 3-bath, X amount of square feet. Here's the address. Here's my phone number, all the essential information. But if you're narrating it, I don't think they necessarily need to hear it for a home tour. But if you're on camera and you're talking, I think you should definitely have captions, just to accommodate, whether someone
three
and
digits.
a lot of people don't know 463.
Yep.
And so it's like, what's the difference between 463 and 480? You know,
Yep.
Right.
to the average person. So unless you're calling somebody, they think it's a spam call or something. But that's really the only issue I've ran into, because I did the thing where you like buy a number and have a, and ended up being a number for like a mold remediation company or asbestos remediation. So I was getting calls like 3 times a week. Hey, do you guys do asbestos? I'm like, no. Like, I
But
don't
I
know
can
why
sell
this,
your house.
right. I don't know why this number's still listed, but yeah. So
That's crazy.
yeah, decided to stick with my number.
Yeah, I think that was smart. I think
Yeah.
that was smart. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. You can look us up there and all our information, or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right. So now we'll get into the question of the week.
Yeah.
So in Arizona, what was your first car?
My first car was a 1998 Chevy Suburban. That was my grandfather's, and he sold it to me for $1.
That's a deal right there.
I know. You probably get 20 grand for that nowadays, the way
Probably
car
could.
prices are.
Yeah.
But drove that, and it wasn't like, it was the model after the square body.
Okay.
So it was a great truck. It was when I remember, though, it was when I first started driving. So I want to say it was like around 2008 to 2010, and gas like went over $4 a gallon, which was a lot back then. And I remember it cost me like $130 to fill the tank.
Wow.
And it did not, it was not a gas sipper. But yeah, that was, had that for quite a bit.
Yep.
So
Did you take it to IU?
I didn't. I actually, at IU, I bought my dad's, he had a 2004 Honda Element.
Okay.
So a little toaster.
Got a lot better gas mileage, though.
Yeah, I honestly, they should have put a V6 in there. It was a 4-cylinder, and it was just sluggish, but really cool car. You could fold the rear seats down. You could fold them up in the back. It was like the plastic floor liner, so you could hose the car. I mean,
Okay.
super functional. And I'm like, man, if I feel like it was just the wrong era for that car. Like if they re-release that now and put a V6 or a flat 6 in it or something like that, jacked it up a little bit, it could be like a, not Land Cruiser, but something in that vein, their Honda's take on overlanding. But,
Yeah. I mean, the FJ Cruiser had it for a while, where you could spray the inside. It was all plastic. People loved it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are still popular. The FJs.
They I don't know why they discontinued them, but everybody who ever even close to had one loves them.
Yeah.
And their unique look, stuff like that. But they must not have sold well enough because they did
Must not have.
discontinue.
Well, and then they brought back they had those massive B pillars that you couldn't see anything out of. That was probably part of it
It's a
too.
finer detail.
Right.
Now you have cameras. You don't need to see.
Well, they just brought back the Land Cruiser, and they made it more like the FJ. So it's like a smaller.
Oh, did
It's
they?
no longer like the
Okay.
$100,000 like family hauler 3-row.
No, it's not.
No, it's I
Oh.
think it's a turbo 4-cylinder. That's like 50 grand.
Okay.
But it's more in that FJ line.
Yep.
Going back to something more compact.
So I like that you can relate to us tall people.
Yep.
My parents are only 5'6". My grandfather was 6'3", so that's the reason why I got my height.
Yeah.
But so my dad and I were looking for my second car after I blew the engine in the first one. And he's like, would you rather have a car or an SUV? I go, SUV, because when I back up the seat, I'm not looking at the pillar out the side mirror.
Exactly.
That's all I can see. He's like, what do you mean? And he tried to, I'm like, no, you got to keep backing up the seat, Dad.
Right. Yeah. It's, you got to think about that. There's a couple smaller cars that I fit in. We rented like a 2 Series BMW when we were out in California, like a 228.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked at like how much room that thing had in it. And, but yeah, I've got a Toyota Tundra now.
That's got some room.
Yeah.
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 That's a great truck.
Very comfortable. I don't plan on ever selling that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, once they go diesel finally.
right. Yeah, I know. They're actually, they went down to a twin turbo V6.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one I have, they've had this, it was like the same 5.7 V8
Okay.
they've had for like 14 years. That's what Toyota does. It's like,
Yep.
if it ain't broke, we don't even think about fixing it. Like, we're going to run that thing till it doesn't run anymore.
But they run then forever.
Yeah.
Like I have an Infinity, and it's a 3.7 liter, and it's like in every Infinity for 20 years.
Yep.
And it's bulletproof, basically. It's unbelievable how good the motor is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Japanese really know how to make stuff that lasts a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. So you as far as getting going, we talk about this much earlier, but how did you get going in real estate? There's a lot of people who struggle greatly. It's a tough business to get going in.
Yeah.
And yet you've done very, very well. How did you do it? What did you do? What was your process?
I think it's just getting the word out that you are a realtor, and getting, like working with somebody who you trust and that trusts you. I think my first deal was like $140,000 cash transaction that I did for my neighbor who was looking for an investment property. So starting there, and then, getting the word out about that. That's where those like sold, posts are important. The pending sold, because it's like, hey, they're doing something with it. They're not just talking about it. Because the way I explain it, it's like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. And it's like, once you crest that hill, once you get those first few deals going, then you start getting referrals, and because that's what we all live and eat off of is it's a referral based business.
Yeah.
And so doing a great job, going above and beyond for your clients, to where it's like you're automatically top of mind. There's no question like, I didn't really like the way he did this or whatever it was. So that, and then coupled with the social media, doing what you can. If you're going to show a house to a client, like I had a few out of state clients, so it's like, well, I'm going to be doing a video walkthrough anyway. Why wouldn't I just take this and stitch it and put it on social media, and say, hey, I toured this, it's a pretty cool house. Why don't you check it out? Like, it's like I'm showing it to my buyers. That doesn't, like, I show so many houses to my buyers. They're not going to buy every single one I show. Right. So, even if that means like staying a little bit late if the showing ends early, like just get some video. So, yeah.
I know it works because I'm not in the market for a house or anything, but when I'm friends with a tremendous amount of real estate agents, and I watch, if it's at all an interesting house, I go, look, I want to see it. Yeah. And I find that's one thing I think is really great about real estate, is that everybody's interested. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You have those, I forget the name of the home. It was like the Indie Home magazine.
Oh yeah.
The house over in Zionsville, Holiday Farms.
Yeah.
It was this like 12,000 square foot, insane custom build. And I went and bought a ticket and did a walkthrough, and it was like worth the cost of admission. Just seeing like, whoa, this is like, it's like a dual primary suite, like the husband's room and the wife's room, like the shared bathroom. You're just looking at this and you're like, who thought of this? Right. But all that stuff and the super custom stuff eventually trickles down.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's just being opportunistic, and also just being upfront with agents too, and saying, hey, look, do you mind if I do a video tour for my audience? Okay, yeah, sure. And that's typically, I'll do that if I know the house is vacant. I don't want somebody getting out of the house if, it's a pain. Like having to, I don't want a family having to like get their kids together, get the dog in the car, and like, I don't want to inconvenience people. But yeah, if I know the house is vacant, then it's easier ask when you're talking to the listing agent.
Unless all my stuff's hidden, I don't really want you doing a video inside my house. Right. If it's not vacant. Yeah. I guess you can hide all your valuables, but you just hate to have. Mm-hmm. It's kind of one of those things that makes it difficult. Now, what are you seeing in the market right now as far as houses? Like one of the things I talk to a lot of real estate agents, and one of the things I've been doing is calling and asking, what's going on, what's happening. One of the things I hear is, well, there's a lot of newer agents who don't know how to negotiate on a property, and they feel, some of these, people have been around a while. It's difficult for them because they're the ones trying to help, right?
Right,
and teach how to do that. Are you seeing what are you seeing in the market?
I'm seeing stuff that's priced well is going fairly quickly.
Very fast.
It's no longer the summer of 2022. And that's a tough thing to tell your sellers, but it's like, you have to be upfront with them, because it's like, do you want your property to sit for 120 days and have people ask like, well, why isn't it sold yet? Well, it's priced too high. Obviously you want to get the most, like I would rather price it competitively and get a competition going, and you'll end up getting more for the house than if you just like throw your dream number out there and let it sit. Cause it's like, it's no longer that, like it's like, I think the market's definitely shifting towards a buyer's market. There's some stuff that's like, you think it's priced well, and it's like, well, I don't know why it hasn't moved, but there might be some zoning regulation or something else with that. So I work with a lot of investors who are doing, Airbnbs and stuff like that. So just trying to find something that doesn't have an HOA, that doesn't have any rental restrictions in the, covenants or, deed restrictions or anything like that. So.
Okay. So you work with a lot of investors?
Yeah.
That's part of what you do?
Yeah. So a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of investors. It's kind of a mixed bag, but I'd say the majority of my clientele is, either first-time home buyers or investors.
So we've all been in a new job. We've all made mistakes.
Yeah.
So what is one lesson that you have learned?
Man, I had a deal where when I was writing an inspection response, I wrote that, that there was mold present. I came up in the inspection, tested in the air, and it was like visibly there. And I wrote in the inspection response that, need a licensed contractor to remediate the mold. Well, the agent, I was not specific enough, and I didn't realize that. But the agent ended up using like a handyman and an at-home mold remediation kit. Well, technically he's a licensed contractor, but he's not a mold contractor. Like, we're talking like specialty biological contaminant, like a potential health conditions on the line. And it ended up being this whole thing. And they ended up having to redo it, and we ended up getting a seller's credit to utilize it. But that was one thing I learned, is to be very precise. Like, I want a licensed mold remediation company. Mm-hmm. And sometimes here's a quote, here's the company, this is what it costs. Like, because like I was writing it for agents who, I'm like, oh, obviously I said licensed contractor, we're talking about mold, I'm going to hire a mold contractor. But some people cut corners. Right. And they say, well, technically the contract says,
Yep.
And so you have to write contracts so that there are no corners to be cut.
Yes.
And, or not write contracts, but fill the contract out, make the verbiage.
You were almost in the NFL. You should know this.
Right? No kidding. Well, my NFL contract.
He wasn't.
I was, but there's no guaranteed money in the NFL. It's the one professional sports league that has no guaranteed money in every contract.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Or not every contract has guaranteed money, I should say.
Okay.
So there's not but yeah, they've got a weak union.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. It's been a problem for a while.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother tangent.
We'd be here for another 3 hours.
No kidding.
So do you have one more tip or something you want to share with the audience?
Buy or sell with Matt.
Right. No, I mean, I think, you use the person that you trust, whether it's a lender or a realtor. And don't forget about the people in your sphere who are, who do work in this market, because they do count on your business, and your referrals. And, especially if they're good at what they do. If they're not, then oops, like that's your fault. That's their fault. But
sorry, Mom,
right?
I'm not using you.
Yeah. I mean, I get there's some people who, it's like, I don't want to do business with friends or family, but it's like, we do live off a referral. So I'd say utilize the people in your circle, as much as you can. And if,
Yeah. We understand if you don't want to because we're close friends. But guess what? Then every referral should come to me.
Right.
But here's the thing that people, I think, don't understand is we do this so much. Like finance, a lot of people, I don't want to give that information. I won't ever remember the information. And in fact, if I'm working with somebody I know, if I can avoid it, I don't even look at their information.
Mm-hmm.
I have people who can take care of it for me. If I have to get involved in it, I will. And, there's certain things you have to look at. But I just tend, and if I do it, I do enough deals that I don't remember somebody's income.
Right.
I mean, I've done my sons, I've done all my kids. I've done their in-laws. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
I just don't. And the other part is who do you look after? You look after everybody, right? But we're just human nature to look after somebody you're going to see forever, right? You better take care of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah, I agree.
So one last time,
what's
the best way to get a hold of you if anybody has any real estate needs? And also tell them how to get to your Instagram. I think that's an important place.
Yeah, so you can go to Instagram.com/Matt Dooley, MattDooley 91, or give me a call or shoot me a text at area code 480-980-5443.
Perfect. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And please follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
And a reminder, if you have any friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, let us know. We're more than happy to help. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining us on our show. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.